everyone, this is Katie here, and welcome to the third video in our Archigen Intelligence series. In this video, I'll show you how to create a dimension by creating a process in TM1 version 10.1.1. The data is a list of employees from a sample file. I'll be using the blank TM1 server that I set up in the previous video. To learn how to install TM1 and how to set up a server on TM1, you can refer back to videos 1 and 2 in our AI series. So now let's get started. Over here is the folder that holds all of the server data. I made a new folder called Source Files that will hold all the input files. Inside this folder is a sample file that is a list of employees. This file is comma delimited, and the header line gives you an idea of what each value represents. First is the employee name, then the department the employee belongs to, then the total company, then the value indicating whether the employee has worked there for more than 5 years. The department and total company values indicate to TM1 how the hierarchy of employee dimension will be created. This sample file can be downloaded from our website if you want to follow along. The link is available in the video description. So we need to import this file into TM1 and create the employee dimension. To do this, we need to create a new process. So right-click on Process and click Create New Process. This opens up the window for Turbo Integrator, also known as TI. Turbo Integrator is a very robust tool and can perform many different kinds of functions. This is the Data Source tab. This is where you select where the data is coming from for this process. In this case, we will be selecting text. There are several other types of data sources available. For example, one is ODBC, which directly queries SQL databases. So here I select text. Text files for input in TI must be either in CSV or CMA format. Just click Browse, then go to the location of the input file and select it to open. Here you'll get a warning that the data source name on the server must use universal naming convention using 2 backslashes in the machine name if the input file was on a different machine from the TM1 server. Just ignore this warning as it doesn't apply to us for now. So the type is delimited and the delimiter is the comma. You need to put a 1 in the box for the number of title records. Then click Preview to get a preview of the data file. Here you can see clearly the data from the file that we looked at earlier. Next, we'll go to the Variables tab. This tab is used to organize the data from the different columns in the file. The variable name is the name used to reference data from a certain column within the process. The type of data must either be a string, which means text, or a number. The sample value shows you the values from the first line in the file. The contents refers to how the data will be used within TM1. The default is to ignore it, but it can also be an element, which means it's an entry in a dimension. A consolidation means that it will be at a consolidated level within a dimension. Data refers to values used to populate a cube. An attribute is a characteristic of an element. Other means that data doesn't have a specific purpose, but will still be available to the process. So now I'll rename the input variables. It's good practice to put a V at the beginning of the name. This will make it easier for you later when you have a complicated process and need to declare other kinds of variables. The employee name is a string type, and it's also an element in this case. Next, the department is also a string, but is a consolidation of multiple employees within the dimension. Next, the total company is a string and a consolidation. It will be at the top level in the dimension. The value indicating an employee's loyalty is numeric, and it is an attribute of the employee element. So now that we have all the variables defined, we're ready to go to the Maps tab. Here you can select to update a cube, but that doesn't apply to this process we're making, so select No Action. Then click on the Dimensions tab. There is only one element variable to map to a dimension, and that is the employee name. You need to type in what the new name of the dimension will be here. You can just call the new dimension Employee. This will change the action to create, which tells it to create a new dimension. The element type needs to be numeric. This refers to the type of data in the cube for values at this intersection. The vast majority of elements are of the numeric type. Here you should change the element order to sort alphabetically by hierarchy. This makes it easier on you so you don't have to reorder the dimension after it's created. Next we go to the Consolidations tab. You can see the two variables we said were consolidations, the department and the total company. The correct dimension, employee, is already selected. The child variable for department is vEmployee. And the child element for total company is vDepartment. Next is the Attributes tab. There is one attribute, which is a value of 0 to 1 in the file, to tell if the employee has been at the company for more than 5 years. The element variable this corresponds to is vEmployee. And we have to give the new attribute a name, so I'll just call it Loyal. This attribute is numeric since it is a number, 0 or 1. Attributes can also be text or an alias. An alias gives an element another name that can be toggled when you view the dimension. Now we'll go to the Advanced tab. The Advanced tab has code that is generated from our selections on the other tabs. Experienced developers are able to go straight here and start writing their own code instead of us using the other tabs to generate it. Now save your process. It should be called something that easily identifies what the purpose of the process is. In this case, it is used to create a new dimension called Employee, so I'll just create dim Employee. After you've named the process and clicked OK, you can go to the top left and click the blue arrow to run the process. If you followed my steps closely, you should get a message saying it completed successfully. So now you can close out of Turbo Integrator and look at the new dimension you created. Right-click on Employee and click Edit Dimension Structure. This will open up the dimension editor. Now you can see that the dimension was created with all the employees in their respective departments and that the department's roll up to total company. So now, what about the loyalty attribute we created? Right-click on the employee dimension and select Edit Element Attributes. You can see that there are zeros and ones in the loyal column. There is a better way to see just employees that are loyal, and that is by creating a subset. Right-click on the employee dimension and click Insert New Subset. You can also simply double-click on the dimension. This looks a lot like the dimension editor, except it only edits subsets, not the actual values in the dimension. So let's select Filter by Attribute from the top. We are filtering by the loyal attribute for values of 1 here. You can see now that only employees with values of 1 remain. So now we save this subset as loyal employees and be sure to deselect private so that other users can see it too. So now we've successfully created a dimension from a text file that sorts employees into different departments and created a subset of that dimension that only shows loyal employees. Stay tuned for our next video where we'll be showing you how to set up a simple cube within TM1. Thanks for watching!